Joined now by our friend Niall Stange, White House columnist for The Hill. Niall, I know you were glued to your TV screen, as were so many people across the country, but we were promised these explosive revelations. This was, of course, big prime time. This was an event produced by a veteran television executive, former network president. Was anything game-changing in regards to what Americans heard about January 6th?
I think there were some very clearly dramatic moments, whether they were game-changing or not. One of them, I think, was the point that Alison mentioned, Ivanka Trump's testimony being broadcast, where she appeared to accept Bill Barr, the then Attorney General's assertion, rather earthy terms, that these accusations of election fraud were nonsense. That was, I think, an important point because obviously it was coming from the president's daughter. There were also emotional testimonies, particularly from the police officer, and a couple of other very important points. Now, game-changing, that depends. People are very fixed in their opinions on these matters.
Well, it's interesting that you brought up Ivanka Trump's testimony. I thought it was pretty anticlimactic, and it's not so much about what I think. It's just you're expecting something a little bit more, I don't know, a little bit more. We did hear from a couple of the former President Trump's family, his inner circle, Attorney General Bill Barr. But what do these testimonies have to do with proving the committee's goal in presenting these hearings to the public?
I think the committee has a few different goals. One is obviously public opinion, but the other one is simply information for its own sake, getting us to know as much as possible about the insurrection. When it comes to Bill Barr's testimony and the testimony from other former Trump aides, to me, the pivotal point there is the suggestion that the former president's inner circle knew there was no fraud. Of course, they have failed to produce evidence of that in court. There has not been compelling evidence produced ever. But the idea that they knew that was fictional, that I think is significant, and I think it does help the committee advance its goals so far as suggesting this was a fraudulent claim that the election was stolen.
And that has been the continued word from many Democrats, of course, many praising this hearing, Republicans calling it a sham. Do you think the ultimate goal of the committee was clear on Thursday night?
Well, only in the sense that I think they have several different goals. So, as I say, one is shifting public opinion. Another one is making the beginnings of a legal case, even though they have no power to bring charges. Part of their audience is the Department of Justice and the current Attorney General, Merrick Garland. And then the third goal is, as I say, telling the most full story of this. I think that it did actually contribute to those goals. The question is now, can the remaining hearings put flesh on those bones and command the same amount of public attention? And we'll just have to see that score.
Do you believe that in America, whether Democrat or Republican, Democrats cheering this, Republicans saying this is unfair, unjust, is the goal of this committee to prevent former President Trump from running for office again or for making it to office again?
That's an interesting question. I mean, obviously, had he been convicted after being impeached, I don't believe he could have done that, and he wasn't. He was acquitted. Is the goal trying to mess up Trump's electoral chances? I think, to be fair, the goal is a bit broader than that. But, I mean, clearly there are Democrats who believe that the former president fomented an insurrection. And to that extent, I don't think they'd be shedding any tears if his electoral chances were spoiled for 2024.
Well, I hope that you're not shedding any tears this weekend over the fact that it's Friday. I think everybody's happy dancing everywhere because it's time for the weekend. Aren't you happy about that?
The only thing I'd be shedding tears about is that it's going to be 2 or 3 whole days before we get to have a chat again, Adrienne. Apart from that, I'm fine.
Niall, you just know how to make a girl feel special. Thank you.
Take care, Adrienne. Have a good weekend.
You too. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.